Recording in progress. Good morning, everybody. A special word of welcome to the Minister, the Deputy Minister, colleagues in Parliament, officials. Good morning to all of you, and welcome to this morning's meeting. A special word of welcome to the Minister that was sick. Minister, I hope you feel much better. It seems you and I went through some difficulties in the last month, but I hope that you are all well, and everybody on this platform is well this morning. Colleagues, may I ask that we observe a moment of silent prayer or meditation. Thank you very much. Apologies. I received the apology of the Deputy Minister, Sanitation, that is assigned to another meeting by the Minister, and I therefore put on the table his apology. Could we accept the apology? Can I get a recommendation that we accept the apology of the Minister, Deputy Minister?
Accepted, Chair.
Accepted. Thank you very much. Yeah, that brings us to the business for today. We've got one report before us. It's briefing by the department on...
Chair? Sorry.
Honourable Member
speaking.
You can continue, Honourable Member.
Chair, good morning to you, the Minister, Deputy Minister, everybody, colleagues. I think Honourable Zelanga and Honourable Mashango are attending another meeting of the Portfolio Committee on Mineral Resources. We were supposed to be, I think, as per the request, part of that meeting, but they are attending there because we are affected. It's the petition about the withdrawal quarry out in Heidedal, Bloemfontein. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. We've got that two apologies. Honourable Reddy.
Chairperson, are we on the agenda? I'd like to move for the adoption of the agenda, and I would just like one item to be included. It could be deferred to the next if the minister is not ready with a reply, and that's an update on the Umgeni Utukela water board and the happenings that's taking place there. I know that there's some work that the department is doing. I just thought if on record we could maybe get some progress report on this, it would be much appreciated. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Could we add that on the report, on the agenda? Is everybody satisfied? Minister, if you can, otherwise we will refer that to the next meeting. We will add that to the agenda, and with the two additional apologies, can we also accept those two apologies?
Agreed, Chair. Accepted. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm going to point 4, briefing by the department on the first and second quarter expenditure report for 25-26 financial year. Handing over now to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. Only you that is allowed to open your video today. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Let me greet all honourable members on this platform, the Deputy Minister Mahlobo. Indeed, Honourable Chair, Deputy Minister Sitlulo, we have assigned him to attend the Cabinet Committee. Thank you very much. The DG and the entire senior management of the department, the support team of legislature, for this portfolio committee. Thank you very much, Chair, for all the well wishes. I'm better now. It was not easy to be in hospital for 3 weeks. It was really taking toll. But your messages, your prayers, your calls have made me to be here today, honorable members of this committee, and for that, I'm very much honorable members. I missed you. And is here today, Chair, as you outlined, to take you through on the first and the will that what is a turnaround plan. We're on makeup projects. What are the causal factors of the delays? How are adding to those delays in terms of catching up with time? When the DG comes, they will talk to the report. I know, Chair, you always ask that you must not read the report line by line, but you must talk to the report. That is what the department is going to do. DM Mashobo will just do a short briefing, Chair, on the typhoid that broke in Tshwane, because the department had to be there working with Tshwane just to find out what has really happened. But fortunately, it is not water related. So DM Mahlobo, after my political overview, will also come in. Let me thank you very much, Chair, for this opportunity. I would like to start by addressing that you saw on the media that stated that DWS has a high vacancy rate in 2022, whereas I contextualize this. In 2022, a needs-based organizational structure with a total of 10,168 posts for the Department of Water and Sanitation was approved. Of these 10,168 posts, only 62% were funded by the compensation of employees budget of 1.9 billion for the year 2024 and 2025. In September 2025, the DPSA issued a directive that the department must abolish any vacant unfunded posts in the PESAL system. In October 2025, the department abolished all vacant unfunded posts in the PESAL system, which has reduced the vacancy rate to not less than 2%, which is 1.86. The department is prioritizing filling of technical and engineering funded vacancies on an ongoing basis, because this is where we think we must focus on. As I once reported that our engineers are very old, they are leaving the system, so more focus will be on recruitment of engineers. As we build big dams, we do need those engineers to capacitate our in-house teams. To address the financial sustainability of water sector, honorable members, the department has continued to encourage payment of the debts through the ministry's engagement with the provincial and the local government. Chair, I must also say the reforms are now taking shape, but we must continue in ensuring that these reforms are communicated also with municipalities. When it comes to water boards, Chair, as you are aware, you might think that the debt is not going down, as we are standing at 24.72 billion that is owed to taking place. However, if my municipal A was supposed to pay 12 million per month, they pay 3 million. So the debt is not going to go down because they are not reducing the usage of water, but they pay less. We once considered to give water in accordance to what the municipality has paid, but we have since realized that will punish ordinary citizens who are not really responsible for this payment of debts. So we must continue to engage with these municipalities up until the action that we've taken, that the portfolio committee has also assisted, and for that we're very much grateful. That of withholding of equitable share, and that has assisted. But as long as those who are owing the ports are not paying the current invoices, so this debt might not be reduced drastically as we wish. Chair, the National Treasury was requested to withhold the equitable share allocation in December 2024. That was implemented in March 2025 and in July 2025. Municipalities that are still not compliant will have their equitable share withheld again in December 2025, meaning next month. But before we do that, we encourage municipalities to pay. We are still grappling, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, with the decline of the capacity of water service authorities to provide a reliable water supply to our communities. It is important that it be noted that the ability of the DWS to effectively intervene in municipalities is very limited within the current legislative environment. Furthermore, the DWS not structured nor adequately resourced to provide the necessary support to 10 water services around in all poorly performing municipalities on its own. That is why we are strengthening our collaboration with other departments, particularly the COCTA and the Municipal Infrastructure Support Agency, MISA, in an effort to achieve more effective support to municipalities. In this regard, a total of 38 municipalities have already been identified for intensified support through alignment of COCTA in the list of distressed municipalities, which includes the municipalities that are identified for support through the interministerial task team for municipal performance turnaround strategy. Much of the above support provided, however, does not address the underlying cause for deteriorating state of municipalities in the medium term. The department will seek to achieve more meaningful impact through supporting initiatives to reform the water sector. One of the major drivers of the water sector reforms is the Water Service Amendment Bill. The Parliament in September, and the department will brief the committee on the details of the bill. We are told that that meeting is scheduled for the 11th of November 2025. The Water Service Amendment Bill includes provisions for the minister to intervene in dismally performing municipalities by introducing a requirement for water service providers to obtain an operating license from DWS to ensure that all water service providers have a minimum level capability. They also authorities to appoint a licensed water service provider of its choice if it is existing. If the existing water service provider fails to meet the requirement to obtain the license or fails to make progress in this regard. I will now, Chair, brief the committee on the two major breakthrough that we have. We panel that was led by Judge Mwepe to do inter-ministerial investigation on a Middle Litiba in Limpopo. The Middle Litiba Nsami system located within the Greater Litaba catchment in Limpopo, which serves mainly domestic and irrigation users, has faced a persistent water deficit since 2012, prompting ongoing community and farmer complaints about water shortages. In response, the Ministerial Independent Investigation Panel, led by the Judge Bernard Mwepe, was appointed under Section 99 of the National Water Act. The core mandate of the panel was to investigate the key reasons why the Middle Litaba Dam is not filling, and also the complaint by some stakeholders within the said sub-catchment area that they are not getting enough water on their allocation, and to make recommendation on law and policy measures that the minister must take. The panel has finalized the report and submitted the report to the minister in May 2025 that outlined the findings, and indeed there was unequal distribution of water access as well as systematic challenges implementing water allocation reform, and therefore the entity had to take that report and develop a plan of action on how to address addressed has been the findings of that report. They are going to assist us in terms of implementing them nationwide, because they are common in many areas, especially where there is an area of irrigation as well as the domestic use, where some of those who are doing irrigation, they divert water not to reach the communities. So will be dealing with that soon. I will be releasing that report in Limpopo. I will meet with the communities who lodged the complaint. So we're going to also unpack what is the action plan going to be implemented. The second major one, Chair, was the Jagersfontein tailing dam collapse, which you are aware of, that in the previous term, went there as the portfolio committee. Following this collapse of Jagersfontein, a fine tailing storage facility in the Free State, the Department of Water and Sanitation and the University of Witwatersrand to conduct an extensive technical study into the causes of the failure of this Jagersfontein. Parallel to this process, the Department of Environment, Fisheries, Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment, as well as DWS, conducted a joint investigation into the incident. A criminal case docket was finalized and referred to the National Prosecuting Authority in Bloemfontein, which has taken a decision to prosecute. And we welcomed that, and we're happy that that decision to prosecute was taken. And according to that report, there are people that are found to been responsible for that the non-maintenance of that tailing dam. The team of experts from the two universities completed the initiative. This report was kept confidential, Chair. It was not even leaked at the request and advice of the Deputy of Prosecution in the Free State Division. The Office of the DGPP has confirmed that they have all the information, so we can release the report. We can go and brief the communities to say what has happened, so that the communities become friends of the court when the case is put on trial. So, Chair, that is how far I can go, and I want to thank you very much, Chair, for this opportunity. The Director General, the DM will come in, then the Director General will lead the team in speaking to the report that we have submitted to the Portfolio Committee. Honorable Chair, honorable members, I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister. DG, half an hour, is that sufficient for you to do the presentation?
Yes, it is. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Deputy Minister, would you like to add something to the Minister's information she gave the committee?
No, thank you so much, Chairperson, and we're happy that you are feeling better yourself. And we're very pleased Minister is here, and with all those well wishes, and then to the members of the committee and the management led by DG. Just to add one matter, the Minister said, Chairperson, I must add, there's been a situation of an incident of a typhoid fever that has broken out in Tshwane, and the Minister, supported by the two DMs, the MEC for Copter in Gauteng, Honorable Mamabulo, and the leadership of Tshwane, we convened a meeting, and we received a report that since January this year to October now, there have been more than 48 cases of typhoid that has actually arisen. And in the same intervening period, 2 people lost their lives. And our condolences as government. But the ministry decided to do this engagement because water is an important component, especially around the issues of outbreak of some of these diseases. We know that Salmonella typhi is a bacterium that can be transported, especially in a contaminated food or contaminated water, that certain people will be in a position to ingest. And ours was going to be very important to ensure that water is not the source of the problem, especially around the areas of Bronkhorstspruit. The community of Pretoria, of Tshwane, is still recovering, Chairperson, from the waterborne diseases, the cholera outbreak that killed a number of people. Therefore, when there is this other incident where to respond as government, we are very pleased that Tshwane, working with the National Institute for Communicable Diseases and the Department of Health, they are managing the situation. But there are a number of water samples that have been taken in various areas, and we can confirm all the samples that have been taken, they are all negative. In other words, water is not the source of the problem. But equally, the issues of no water supply or intermittent water supply, because water is also part of the solution around health and hygiene. Remember, on COVID-19, people had to wash hands. Even here, issues of washing of hands, the issues of cleaning of food, the water must be of good quality. And the minister and ourselves, we look at the issues of shortcomings by Tshwane, the issues of the Hammanskraal, Rooiwal, and the intervention that are being made, the ongoing delivery of water through either groundwater system, through boreholes and the tracking. And we made the decision that even the non-functional waste, the treatment works in Bronkhorstspruit must be fixed. At this stage, we've put a team under the leadership of the DG and the city manager, just to ensure that functionality of the water systems in Tshwane is improved. The alternative provision of water, either through tankering or boreholes, must be dealt with efficiently. We've also said we must mobilize more of our institutions just to continue to fund the real cause of this outbreak, because even if it's not water related, in our own case, we've said that the Water Research Commission, the CSIR and others will be mobilized by our accounting officers, and more water samples will be taken. But because of the issues of trust deficit, our directive is that it is resource Chairperson all the time of water samples. They must be published on the municipal website so that people can have a guarantee that the water they use is of good quality, it meets our standard in terms of SANS 241, including the water that it's happening in the tankering. And the minister will continue to monitor that, supported by ourselves. and ensure that infrastructure failure and service delivery disruption does not expose these communities to more risk. But the issue of Salmonella typhi bacteria is a matter that you can always find people can carry it if they were once infected, but more importantly, water availability and sanitation and hygiene remains the solution. That's the brief, Chair, that we thought we should share with you so that we be able to demonstrate we are responsive, and the issues of civic education, the role of communities and other community-based organizations to contain the situation. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Minister. Can now go over to the DG for your presentation.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I'm going to follow the normal format. I'm going to highlight some key progress made in the first 2 quarters. And then Babawa is going to summarize for us, speak to the presentation with regard to progress against performance information, and then Frans will come in on financial performance. During these 2 quarters under review, as members will be aware, we processed the National Water Resource Infrastructure Agency Amendment Bill with the National Assembly, and is currently with the National Council of Provinces, which is an important step towards establishing the NWRA, and other work continued in the meantime between ourselves and the TCTA to put in place the measures to establish the NWRA, including the advertisement for the board, which happened during these 2 quarters. The process of administratively going through the applications that were received has now been completed, and the recommendations have been sent to the Minister. We also completed the next round of green drop assessments, and the blue drop assessments are underway, and we're currently doing the moderation of the results of the green drop assessments with the municipalities. As the honourable members are aware, we continued with the measures to ensure that payments by municipalities to water boards improves. And as we presented in other meetings with the Portfolio Committee, the withholding of the equitable share has been shown to be having some impact, and particularly preventing our 2 water boards most at risk from going bankrupt. The Water Services Amendment Bill has now been tabled in Parliament after being stuck in the Bill's office for a while. We've completed the National Water Amendment Bill as well. Unfortunately, we're still awaiting for the Chief State Law Advisor to give the final approval to the Bill's office so that it can go to the committee. We are following up as much as we can with the Office of the Chief State Law Advisor. A major achievement during these 2 quarters was the issuing of the gazetting of the revised norms and standards for water and sanitation services. This is very important for various reasons, including, for example, the fact that it clearly says that the bucket system of sanitation is unacceptable. It raises the minimum level of service for water to a household connection from standpipes, and has various other improvements to the norms and standards. And as part of this process, we requested all the water services authorities to provide us with plans for how they're going to improve their services to meet these new norms and standards. Finally, Chairperson, just to mention to the committee that, of course, this report covers the 2 quarters up till the end of September. In some areas, there has been progress since then. For example, with regard to the Umzimvubu project, up to the end of September, we hadn't yet started with the actual construction of the dam, but during October we did start, and the construction of the dam wall has now commenced. Thank you. Over to you, Babawa.
Thank you, DG. Good morning to the Minister, DM, and members of the Portfolio Committee and colleagues. If you look at this, just to contextualize our reporting, it's those standards. We have had to make some revisions to the reporting format. This is now based on the clean audit that we have obtained from the Auditor General that required us to report certain information differently, like if it is not included in the annual performance plan based on our technical indicator descriptions, we have had to make those adjustments in our first and second quarter reports. And this is now actually featuring in a slight regression in the department's performance if the honorable members were to compare to the same periods for the previous financial years. You'll see that the slide indicates a 61%, which is an 8% regression compared to the same period in the previous financial year. And then slide 8, you'll see that it actually reflects a 62% performance for the cumulative performance over the period, which is a 5% regression as compared to the same period in the previous financial year. Also, in this slide, you'll see that the actual performance within the water services management is the one that has actually been mostly affected by this change in the reporting format. And I'll quickly just go through the respective performance just to give you the highlights per program. If you look at slide 10, you'll see we procured 60% from the SMMEs from that target of 30%, and then 40% from exempted micro enterprises and 20% from qualifying small enterprises. Then if you go to the designated groups, you see that our procurement from the black-owned companies, it's 1.7 billion, and women, it's 874 million, youth is 330 million, and people with disabilities is 6.7 million respectively. Then I'll quickly just highlight key issues in the first program. We have, this is just an indication of the achievements per sub-program as standard as we present. But if you actually concentrate on the slide 15, you will see that we have been tracking the vacancy rate, particularly for engineers and scientists. This is one of those stubborn ones that we have not been able to reduce. This is now based on the fact that we have had to create a lot of technical positions, which we are currently trying to fund as posts become vacant from the system. So we're currently having a technical vacancy rate for engineers and scientists only at 61%. Also in slide 16, one issue that has been also stubborn in terms of our performance is our ability to reduce our data days. Though it has slightly improved compared to the first quarter to 210 days, but it is 90 days above what we have actually planned for the period. Then we go to the second program, which is water resources management. I will just quickly highlight only key issues relating to the bulk raw water infrastructure projects. You'll see that in slide 25, in this slide 25, we are highlighting those projects that are a detailed design. You'll see that we have got 5 that are actually in the detailed design process, and we've highlighted the performance for the quarter. And then slide 26, it is just an indication of those that are actually under construction. As the DG has indicated, Mzimvubu had not started by the end of the period, but it has since started. You see that all the other projects are reported in that slide. And then the last one on slide 27 actually indicates the number of projects that we have, dam safety rehabilitation projects. This is in relation to what the minister talked about in terms of ensuring that the dams are safe, that we own. You'll see that we have got 4 projects that are planned for construction, of which 2 are actually have started. 3 have actually started construction, 1 hasn't. But I think I will hand over to Mr. Mabuda just to augment some of the challenges overall as a summary of what is happening in the space.
No, thanks. Good morning, Minister and Deputy Minister, Chairperson and members, DG and colleagues. Just to give an indication of where we are, yes, we continue to do pre-implementation activities for the Wamitwa Dam in Limpopo, for the Guyani and surrounding areas, in terms of, as well as the Litawa areas. We have to secure some funding from the markets for that project, and we have enlisted TCTA to assist us with that. They're carrying out some due diligence work, and based on that, they will be able to go to the markets and see how much they can raise from the markets to augment what can be secured from the state. We're also working on Zalu Dam, finalizing the designs. This will be important for securing water for Lusikisiki and surrounding areas in the Eastern Cape. Kuni Dam in the Nelson Mandela area, which does suffer shortage of water due to droughts in that area. And we need this dam to get more water from the Orange to supply the area. For Butterworth, we're raising Gua Dam, and we're doing the environmental impact assessment for that. And for areas that are supported by Klepfontein Dam, like Ulundi and the surrounding areas, we also intend to raise that dam. Dams under construction, Zanin, yes, at the end of September, we were at 53%, but we have since improved to about 57% during the third quarter now. Most of the work is in confined areas because this is an existing dam which is full of water. We have some challenges, especially during the flooding seasons, because then we have to abandon work at the spillway as it has to discharge excess water. We are about 70% complete with the parapet wall, which will actually raise the dam. And we are also strengthening the dam walls with placement of earth material. There has been some delay with some formwork, but that is now sorted, and we are starting to reinforce and put in our formwork so that we can pour concrete. From Zimvubu, as the DG indicated, we have now started with actual construction of the dam, and that entails now the active excavation of the dam wall footprint to a level that will be competent to start placing concrete later on. Clan William Dam, we were very successful with protecting the works on the upstream of the dam, where we have to put in an intake tower. We engage our communities and water users who were worried when we proposed that we need to lower the dam and to 75% and build the coffer dam to protect the works. We have since done that, and we were able to restore the dam level to 95%. That will be all I can add to the report.
Thank you. If you go to slide 32, which is within the Water Services Management sub-program, this slide actually summarizes several of the slides that you'll see in the presentation, slides 36 to 38. This, by the end of the second quarter, actually indicates the number of projects that we have under construction within the regional bulk infrastructure grant space and those that have actually been completed. We are also highlighting per province as well the budget for facility infrastructure projects that are under construction, and by the end of the second quarter, none had been completed. If you look at the water services infrastructure grant, by the end of the term, there were 280 under construction, of which 74 were completed, and the ministerial interventions are currently 8, as actually reflected in that slide. Then if you go to slide 39, which is just an indication of the changes. You recall when we last presented to the portfolio committee for the annual report, we had actually highlighted that we have changed how we're actually reporting for the bucket eradication projects. We are tracking the bulk sewer projects under construction. This slide actually indicates those 7 of those that are under construction. And you'll see that 2 of these projects are actually on track as planned. There are some that are actually experiencing delays, 5 of them. And we've also highlighted the challenges of those 5 affecting these the delays or resulting in the delays. And then I think I will end here, DG, and allow the DDG Resimati to actually augment on this infrastructure space.
Thanks, Babalo, and thanks, Chair, Minister, and everyone. I'll only just give some of the highlights of the key challenges of progress made to date. But I think the first takeoff, Chair, is just to indicate that, as you know, that we get allocated roughly around 14 billion for both our grants annually. So at any given time, we have roughly over 500 projects that are in action, that are in construction throughout the country, located in various municipalities. But what is key that I want the Chair and the honorable members to pick up is that of all those projects, roughly over 85% of those projects are implemented by municipalities or water service authorities. And that is where most of the challenges are happening. Yes, we do implement some of the project ourselves where we are taking over the project due to non-performance. But just to highlight in a high level, share some of the projects that are quite critical, which over the years have been accelerated. For instance, in Eastern Cape, you have Makana, you have got the Mbizana and Zambe bulk water supply schemes. And those projects also were somehow delayed, but there's currently progress and we're accelerating some of those projects. You know, of Free State, we talk of Maluti, Apofung, we talk of Machabeng, as well as Mwate, which is one of the hotspot areas in the Free State where we have projects that are quite old, but there is ministerial intervention and support in that province for those projects. You've heard of us talk of Hammanskraal, specifically on the package plant, which affect the city of Tshwane. They've been delayed due to rains in the latter part of last year, the beginning of this year, which resulted in the delays on the implementation of the project, specifically the 4 modules of the package plant. There is progress, there's acceleration of that project. There's a view that by mid-December, all those 4 modules will be completed and will be able to add close to about 50 megaliters a day. In KZN, we do have intervention in Umkhanyakude, but the key critical project which affects the 2 districts in the KZN is Mandlakazi bulk water supply scheme, which is quite old, Chair, and the department has actually took over that project to accelerate it. We are using Umgenu together to do program management on that project, and we've repurposed our funds to accelerate it. This is a project that has a direct impact on what is happening in the 4th district in Umkhanyakude, which we know currently has some water challenges. And we have one project as well in Umshwati, bulk water supply scheme under Mbungundlovu, which we are also accelerating. Chair, the last few points I want to mention is on Giyani. Yes, we've had challenges in the acceleration of the projects there. You know of the old story we managed to complete the first portion of taking water from Nandoni to Giani, as well as optimizing the water treatment plant in Giani. We've started with phase 1 of the reticulation of the 55 villages, of which we will start with phase 2 before the end of this current financial year. The 24 villages share are nearing completion. There's few villages which by mid-December will be completed. But you will hear that in that area, there's still some of the old schemes which get spoken about, like your Mutse project, as well as Mameja Stororo, which are quite old in the system, but the department has actually accelerated those. 2 critical projects I want to end up with, Chair, it's in Mpumalanga province as well as the Northwest. We have few of the projects that, for instance, in Loskop as well as Ligwa, in the Northwest, we've got the Breath water treatment plant, which is quite delayed as well. And we've got the Mafikeng South Bulk Water Supply Scheme. And in the Northern Cape, we've got the Kimball Bulk Water Supply Scheme. Now, if I was to elevate, Chair, some of the key challenges which we always say, specifically in this water services project, is that where projects are implemented by water service authorities, we have actually experienced quite a lot of poor contract management by these implementing agents, in this case, water service authorities. And sometimes there's poor performance of the contractors due to issues of cash flows, work stoppages by communities or business forums. And in some instances, because of these stoppages, and while we have allocated time to complete the project, it basically ends up in a delayed completion of the project. Now, a question has always been asked that where there's basically poor performance, why aren't we immediately terminating or taking over the project? And as you may know, Chair, that in this kind of project, we are actually having some statutes that control the management of this contract. For instance, your GCC, General Conditions of Contract, your FIDE contract, or NEC. Prior to any termination or any poor performance, you need to be able to prove quite enough that there's enough evidence to prove that you can terminate. And some of those may lead to litigation and some other challenges. These are some of the constant challenges that we have in the system, but the department is literally making moves to attend to this, part of which is where we are implementing this project through the water boards. We're also converting some of these grants from direct to indirect grants so that we have much more better control. So those are some of the key highlights I want to elaborate. Thank you.
Frans?
Thank you very much. DG, mindful of time, I think at 9:55 we should be concluding on our allotted time. I'll move straight to the first quarter. We're required to talk to the first quarter and the second quarter. Chairperson, the first quarter spending is at 21.5% overall, and the area where the report is showing significant underspending is in relation to our transfers, which are governed by the local government payment schedule that is issued by National Treasury in terms of the Division of Revenue Act. In terms of our target, we planned to spend 22% for this quarter, for the first quarter of the financial year. Then the second quarter of the financial year, we have spent 46.3% against a target of 47%, slightly below the target. And I can also confirm the Chairperson, as my colleague indicated, that the contributor, amongst others, relates to compensation of employees. I have provided details on the initial slide where we are indicating that the department is still finalizing the matching and placement of staff in terms of the new organogram that we have approved. So the expenditure should normalize now as we proceed into the remainder of the financial year. The other slides that I am skipping are reflecting the transfers that we have made to our entities, including the CMAs, as well as the conditional grants allocations to the various municipalities. The details of each municipality are part of the submission we've made annexed to this presentation. Then I will also move Chairperson to the water trading entity, which is reflecting 39%. And as we have previously shared with the committee, there are also dependencies when it comes to the water training entity. We have advances that we are making to Lesotho Highlands Development Authority as well as the TCTA. And as soon as they have concluded on the work that they are performing on behalf of the department, they submit the records which will reconcile back to clear the advances, and then expenditure at the end should be high. So in summary, Chairperson, on our presentation for the spending, we are performing those regular early warning reviews, and we do reallocate projects which are not performing well. We have indicated in the annexure the details of each project, and we can confirm that we are still on track to spend the allocated budget by the end of the financial year. The next part of the presentation speaks to the financial recovery, which includes both the improper expenditure as well as the the Auditor General's report. So this is the overview of our broad strategies and the key outputs and the status of each at the end of September. We presented at the end of, for the previous financial year, a total amount of 5.8 billion of irregular expenditure, which the committee also requested that we account quarterly. So this is the overview. The unauthorized expenditure is still part of the process that is between National Treasury as well as SCOPA. And once those processes are concluded, we should be in the position to take out this 641 million out of our books. Then for the fruitless and wasteful expenditure, we have dealt with the previous cases that we reported when we presented the annual report. And in the 31 million for the current financial year, we have only 16 million for our internal and external project costs, which we could not capitalize. It is our goal to ensure that we minimize this irrecoverable costs. The other amount is still part of the disciplinary proceedings that our HR office is working on. Regarding the irregular expenditure, Chairperson, we have provided as requested details of each and every case as indicated on slide number 54 here, 55, as well as 56 for the water trading entity. So the status of disciplinary action is also indicated for each and every case. These are the measures that the department is putting in place to avoid reoccurrence of those historic challenges that we face. And then in terms of trend analysis on slide number 59, Chairperson, we are also demonstrating our progress regarding the elimination of irregular expenditure. We are reporting for Q2 an amount of 4.2 million, which we are currently engaging with our legal services. There is a correspondence with the affected service provider where we are working on exiting this contract. So we are on track in terms of ensuring that the department does not incur any new cases. That is also part of the financial recovery plan. Fruitless and wasteful expenditure as well. If we compare with the previous financial years, we can see a significant reduction, especially on the construction unit. All the interventions that have been made by the management as well as our executive authority ministry, we have managed to bring down all those losses from the construction unit, as it can be seen on slide number 40, that there's a peak at some point. We are now dealing with the exit and making sure that we optimize the construction unit and ensure that they have sufficient support and procurement. We are implementing the infrastructure procurement strategy, Chairperson. So that is, in summary, our presentation on the finance part. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Minister, would you like to conclude before we go to questions?
Not necessarily, Chair. I think the DG and the team has sufficiently covered what is entailed on the report. We'll be glad to respond to comments and questions from honourable members. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, members. Could we start with the questioning? Is there any questions? Honourable Reddy? Can we, Honourable Reddy, can we stick to 3 questions for this round, please?
Good morning, Chairperson, and welcome back, Honourable Minister. I trust that you are well now and back to the grind, and you're ready to open the taps. Let me firstly thank the department for that presentation on quarter 1 and quarter 2. I want us to look and mirror these findings or these recommendations against the AG's report, because if you look at the AG report, that is not a checklist. It is a mirror that reflects systemic decay. And let me just deal with the questions very quickly. You know, what we find is that, once again, there's a lot of plans, management plans, there's disciplinary action that's underway, and yet we find that same projects, the Gianni project, the war on leaks, the Richards Bay, they still remain under investigation year after year. My question then would be, why is it that there is no firm timelines, there's no recovered funds recorded, and more importantly, there's no evidence of prosecutions or dismissals? Because what this reflects is a culture of impunity and not progress. The second question relates to what we perceive as inflated compliance narratives. Because if you look at the AG's report, it consistently highlights unreliable accrual data and payments made without proper verification. Nowhere in this report does DWS provide quantifiable reductions in accruals or evidence of improved payment cycles. Can I ask why and whether there's any intention of that ever happening? Because the reality, Chairperson, is that suppliers remain unpaid while consultants and repeat contractors continue to benefit. Finally, the issue of the construction unit. This is an area of concern, a serious concern. The so-called construction efficiency and improvement strategy. What we see this is simply a rebranding exercise, because the same 31 million rand in irrecoverable construction costs remains unresolved. Now let's go back to what the AG said. The AG warned that DWS had no cost recovery model or performance-based accountability system in this unit. And what we find is that the department's report presents no milestones, no turnaround framework, and no accountability for project delays or cost evaluation. I would like to get a response on that, and whether the department will be considering doing something else, not regurgitating the same old thing all the time, because you're going to get the same type of responses. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Honourable Chair, thank you very much, Honourable Reddy, for welcoming me back, and I forgot to welcome you back to my Honourable Chair. I think we'll be wished by Honourable Reddy, and that is just on a lighter note. I take note that Honourable Reddy is saying there are a lot of plans, but there are no concrete actions that has been taken on what the AG has reported in terms of the findings. Chair, I don't want to waste the time myself and DM will come later. Let's allow DG and CFO in particular to respond immediately on these 3 questions. Thank you.
DG?
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, you will recall that we have previously given a detailed presentation to the Portfolio Committee, I think it was about a year or a year and a half ago, on all of our disciplinary cases related to financial misconduct and other actions that we're taking in our work with the Special Investigating Unit. And in that presentation, we indicated that there have been a number of dismissals of officials, both in the department and in some of the water boards based on financial misconduct, including the dismissal of one of our DDGs on the basis of SIU investigations. And these relates to projects such as the Guyani project. We've also reported to the committee that as a result of the SIU investigations, we have had hundreds of millions of rand returned to the department from companies like SAP and from EOH. It's several hundred million rand that we've had returned to the department. Chairperson, it's not correct to say that there's no dismissals, there's no funds recovered, and there's no disciplinary action, and there are no timelines. If necessary, Chairperson, we can give an updated presentation on that again. Frans, would you like to come in on the construction unit issues?
Yes, thank you, DG. Maybe let me start with the accruals and the payment cycle. DG, I can confirm that we are paying the suppliers within 30 days, except for the period which we had challenges with this system, as we reported to the Portfolio Committee, corrective actions that we have put in place. If we compare to the historic amounts that we used to report, there was close to over 2 billion of accruals, which was flagged before by the Auditor General as part of risk to the going concern of the department. And that figure has since been reduced. We are managing very well our commitments and accruals and payables. There are no instances of overcommitment. And on the construction unit, it's important that, as I've indicated, that the 30 million is made up of 2 amounts. The 16 million is the amount that we are confirming that is part of the recovery process as per the investigation report. And disciplinary action was also taken, and we reported previously, as DG has indicated, there was also a recording of this with the police. The other amount that is included in the 31, those are your irrecoverable costs. They are not necessarily in vain, Chairperson. In construction, like now, as we move construction in between sites, like now that we've been reassembling teams at Ndabelanga Dam, we will be moving some of our sites. So in the intervening period as well, there are costs, fixed costs that we are incurring for those specific sites. So if there's any incident of loss or negligence, those are ordinarily recovered. But if you have fixed costs where the projects are moving slow, or there is perhaps a waiting period for a material, we still have to incur those costs as the water trading entity, but you cannot recover those or charge them against the client. That is what we mean by those construction irrecoverable costs. Thanks, DG.
Thank you very much. Honorable Reddy.
Thank you, Chair. In the interest of time, I want to thank the officials for the responses. I do hold a different view on some of them. The fact that there's been prosecutions, etc., perhaps it needs to be mentioned in this report somewhere, so that it doesn't look as though nothing has been done, unless we're saying that in the period under review, there has been no prosecutions, that the prosecutions we're talking about are in fact over a year ago. But be that as it may, in the interest of progress and time, I think you can proceed, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will request the department, we'll see where we can slot them in to give us an update response presentation on the investigations. Thank you, Honourable Moore. My apology, Honourable Moore. It's first Honourable Kobe. Ladies first. Ladies first.
Thank you, Chair. I believe the Minister has something to say quickly.
Yes, please, Chair. Please, Chair, may I just make this addition, Chair, that we have already recovered 45.9 million, that as well as we are awaiting for 77 million more to be paid to our water trading entity. And when we get that money, what we usually do, we allocate it for maintenance of dams. We also allocate it for paying TCTA in terms of what they are doing as the mandate that they have. So we can, when you allow us, Chair, some other time to bring that detailed report, how much has been recovered from where. But there are some good achievements in terms of recovery. Thank you very much, Chair. I'm sorry, Honourable Kobe, to come between your speech. I'm sorry.
My apology also, Minister, I didn't see your hand. Deputy Minister, I see your hand is up before I go to Honourable Kobe.
No, thanks, Chairperson. Minister Chair, she had said that the teacher and the team were going to respond, and then myself and the Minister were going to conclude. Honourable Reddy, just please note that when it comes to consequence management, you will check this week, Chairperson, the top executive, former executive of Lepelle Northern Water, they are actually appearing in the High Court now on matters of fraud, corruption related to the Kiani water system. Secondly, Honourable Reddy, there were a number of issues of malfeasance that happened at Umgeni Utugel. The SIU did actually give us the report. We've directed that water board to implement those recommendations and put people into a disciplinary action. And on our side, there are ongoing engagement with the SIU that we normally look at these reports. And the nice thing, Chairperson, we have been very vigilant as our portfolio committee. The SIU has been accounting to you on these matters of malfeasance and corruption and scope. I thought that important matter we should say. On the AG outcome, Honourable Reddy, we were very happy but disappointed at the same time. It was a mixed feeling. For the first time, the other account, I led the delegation to that site and with Minister Simelano, we did actually achieve a clean audit, but there are areas of concern. And looking at the advice we got from you as the portfolio committee, especially Honourable Moore, was very insisting to say, let's deal with this lacuna between ourselves and the Lesotho on accounting and the possible role of which AGSA will be able to play their part. And when the CFO was presenting the recovery plan was the work that we're assisting by the last parliament. The department was bankrupt. It was a crime scene. And we've been very consistent in the implementation of that recovery plan. The department is no longer insolvent or is a going concern. There's been a lot of improvement, but we have not achieved all our targets. Minister still insists, supported by us, that we want to have issues of good governance. The issue of internal capacity of the construction unit. we still have to be proud as a state that we've retained some capacity. But the capacity has been hollowed out over some time and with weaknesses. That's why in the last administration and this administration, our major focus, supported by yourselves, is to unblock all major projects for water security. There is progress that has been made, but because of the poor performance in the past and lack of decision in the past, Honorable Chair, we have been absolutely correct yourselves to say it has implication on the delivery date, but it also has issues around the cost implication. Let's keep an eye on them. Like we are saying, there is work that is doing, and we need to be urging ourselves to do more, while at the same time we come to account to you and the people of our country. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. With that addition, Honorable Reddy, can I continue?
Yes, Chair. Thank you very much. Thank you, DM, for that response.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kobe.
Thank you very much, Chair. Good morning, colleagues, honorable members. And it's good to see the Minister. Good morning to the Minister and the two DMs. Thank you very much for the presentation, DG and team. Mine, I think, are very simple things. I'd like to ask about, I think one of the issues that I've been particularly worried about is the vacancy rate. I think at the time in the House when I posed the question to the DM, it was at 40%, and now it's at 61%, which is completely unacceptable. We just want to know, I understand that over time it has been hollowed out, but there have been certain interventions that the DM has made mention of in terms of even the doctorate programs that are there within the WSIR. I think that's the one. But what are the plans and where are we going to get people to come and really fill in the vacancies where there has been a hollowing out or sort of a brain drain of the department? I think this is urgent, Chair. We need them to tell us how they plan to capacitate the department. Also, there was an underachievement in terms of the percentage of training programs and interventions by the department. Why has there been an underperformance in this regard of 6%? And what which parts of the department has been mostly affected in terms of output and service delivery? I think if they could give us that. Also, the debtors days over by 90 days. What's the reason for this, and why can't it be reduced to the normal standards? Chair, my second last is with regards to Program 2, 2.2.4, the number of bulk sewer projects that are under construction. The Clocolan has a contractual dispute. At what stage is this? Is it now at a stage of litigation, or is the department threshing it out with relevant parties? Is it at that level? And there are also issues of contractor cash flow challenges. Did the department not do due diligence with regards to the contractors? And if this is the problem, then how does the department intervene? Does the department give an advance on these issues? What happens to ensure that there is cash flow and we can continue with the project? Also, with regards to procurement,
Honorable Kobe, my apology. Can we stick with those questions? We'll come for a second round.
Okay, Chair.
Thank you.
I just have one last question, Chair. That's all. And I don't need to come in for the second round.
It's just because you're a lady. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm really sorry, Chair, but thank you. This is with regards to the Program 2 with the water resource management. I think there's an underachievement in terms of the design stage and the environment impact analysis. Why is there a delay in that regard, which has led to the underperformance of the department? Thank you. That's all, Chair.
Thank you. Minister?
Thank you, Chair. DG, CFO, and DTG Fundakumbi on HR matters. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much, Chairperson. I will answer the first one on the vacancy rate and then ask colleagues to answer the others. Our former minister approved a new organogram for the department. And we've had a long process of engaging with the unions for the matching and placing of officials in the department against that organogram. We captured the new organogram on Persol, and we captured all the posts on the organogram on Persol, including the unfunded positions, so that we could have lots of positions to put available on Persol to move to match and place our officials against. That process has now reached an advanced stage, and coupled with that, the DPSA gave us an instruction in October to remove all the unfunded vacancies from Persol. So the data that the honourable member is referring to is data from Persol on our vacancy rate. Now that we have deleted all the unfunded vacancies from Persol, which all the departments are required to do, our vacancy rate is not 60%, our vacancy rate is less than 2%. Currently, since we removed all the unfunded vacancies from Persol. I think the 60% in particular that the honourable member is referring to refers to the previous figure for technical positions, when we had the whole organogram on Persol, including the unfunded vacancies. But now that we've removed the unfunded vacancies, our vacancy rate for technical positions for which there's a special occupational dispensation to attract technical people is less than 0.5%. So our vacancy rate now is very low, based on funded positions, and we have very little money in our personnel budget to hire additional staff. But nevertheless, with the small amount of money that we do have, we are prioritizing technical positions, not only engineers, but also middle-level technical positions, technicians, scientists, etc. And in fact, we have a number of advertisements out currently for such technical positions, 120 advertisements out currently, and we're busy preparing more to go out as well for technical positions. Training, and Tabiseng?
Thank you, DG. With regards to the training, with the underperformance of 4% that we have not achieved, we will be able to achieve that in the next quarter, because in terms of our target for the annual target, it's 50%, and by now we will be able. And the reason why we were unable to then meet the target in the second quarter, it's because of the funding and also the allocation of the funding in the beginning of the year, and the training could not take place before the funds could be made available in the cost centers. Thank you.
Debtors Days, Frans?
Yeah, thank you, Minister Chairperson. DG, the debtors days are affected largely by the historic debt that we are still carrying on our books. At the end of September, we have reported 28 billion. And of the 28 billion, 26 billion relates to water resource infrastructure, with 2 billion being water resource management, which is part of the process that we are busy transferring to the CMAs as part of the presentation that we also made to the portfolio committee. So what we are doing now, Chairperson, to address this briefly, Minister and DG also touched to some of the interventions. So we are engaging municipalities as well as all other debtors, but specifically for the municipalities, we are having this water relief and debt relief incentive scheme. So all of those municipalities that have agreed to participate, yesterday I've managed with the team to sign off, I think it's around 3 billion. So as we progress with the program that we have implemented, we are hopeful that before the end of the financial year, we should be able to ring-fence some of this historic debt and have our municipalities maintaining their current accounts. So it will remain probably like this for the near future. But as we clean the books and engage with all our users and transfer that remaining part of the CMAs, we will improve that. We also have the SOP that DG presented before. There are various measures that we have put in place to ensure that all our water boards are implementing the standardized standard operating procedures. So there are a host of measures that we are bringing in place to make sure that the users are paying, and that will ultimately bring down the tax collection days.
Bulk sewer pipelines, Rizzi Martin.
Thanks, DG. The question is on the bucket eradication for Clocolan. What we want to submit is that part of the response is based on what I've already said earlier on the challenges of the cash flows. I'll start with that part. Honorable Kobe, one of the tricky parts is when municipalities do procurement, and in this case it's us as the department of this project, which you know from the genesis, it moved from one department to the other from where it is now. There's been a lot of misplanning, lack of designs, and a whole lot of other technical challenges, which we have now embraced all of those, and we have managed to control the challenges in terms of designs and engineering services. But what has happened with these service providers, Honorable Kobe, is that when the project was now unfolding, they started having cash flow challenges. So when the project takes longer, there's price escalations in material, and over and above that, the delays on site, the work stoppages also had a direct impact. That has vastly affected their cash flows as well as their poor performance. But on appointment, every service provider always comply. They will give you all the compliance requirements, even if a requirement is that they must bring a bank guarantee letter to show that they've got funds in the account. Most service providers are able to offer that information and they get appointed, but it's over time where they start battling with the cash flows. This is a similar case in Clocolan. Now, on the issue of arbitration or the issue of contractual dispute that you've mentioned, due to poor performance, as a department, we took a decision to want to cancel the contractor so that we can get our construction unit to do the work. But as I've said earlier on, that when you want to terminate, you need to ensure that you comply with the general conditions of contract so that you don't violate those conditions. And contractors are quite clear and aware that as a client, you won't just terminate without complying with those conditions. Now, this issue, they basically elevated the issue up for arbitration. We are standing on our position to terminate because of poor performance. We have sought an internal legal opinion so that we can terminate poor performance. But due to the cash flows, challenges, we think we have got a good ground that at the end, this can be terminated. That's how you follow the process until the end so that you are able to rescue the project. The last part on the same issue, Honorable Kobe, is that we don't, as and when, push for advance payment to service providers. However, we can take concessions or sessions rather, where service providers are unable to procure some of the key components of a project where we can take over, more especially if there are a risk and if they're at the critical parts. We're able to have those sessions where we pay the service provider directly where there's actually poor performance or lack of financial control on the service providers. So that is the long and the short of how I can explain to the matter. Thank you, Chair. Thank you, DG.
And then the final issue, Libawani.
No, thanks, DG, and thanks, Minister and Chairperson. The question was about the delays with the design process at Zalu Dam and Kuni Dam. These are dams with a safety risk. So we need to appoint what we call an approved professional person in terms of our dam safety regulations. We used to have that capacity internally. The official who was the APP for Zalu Dam retired. So that set us a little bit back. We have then had to go to the market and procure a person. That person will also then go through the system of getting the Dam Safety Office approval as an APP in terms of our legislation. We hope to start improving in that regard once the resource has been secured. For Kuni Dam, we had actually had an APP from the private sector, but she has resigned from the job, so we have to replace her. We also have to go through the same process to get to get a new person, and that person should then also be given a license to do the work by the Dam Safety Office. Once that is sorted, then we will be fine.
Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Honourable Kobe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think I've been sufficiently answered. My only worry would then be if they depend on one APP and also have to wait throughout the cycle to continue to, there is no business continuity for me. That's the only risk. And maybe if the department can look at it, to ensure that when there's an APP, there is some sort of skills transfer to those who may remain, and it must not depend on one person. They fall the risk of not having business continuity. Thanks, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Moore.
Thank you, Chair. And let me start by greeting the Minister and wishing her a steady recovery, the DM, the DG, and the team. And thank you very much for the presentation. Chair, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this. What I would like to request, though, is whether we could, on particular issues, because you know my challenges with the formatting, I think it would be very handy, just for the public record on these, if we could get an addendum when we get quarterly reports on things like the bucket toilets. It doesn't have to be long. It could be a separate, because it has to be a separate report, because it can't be included in this report, but just an addendum to say this is the current status on the bucket toilet project that is shared at the same time. And again, I don't mean a full report, I mean a half a page or just something so that we can refer back to it. And other than that, Chair, I have a few bits and bobs. One thing I'd like to request is whether it would be possible for us to receive a report on the Tshwane situation. I have heard the DM particularly in terms of the interventions that have been placed, and I'm very reassured to hear it seems to be contained, but I think we won't be doing our duty if we don't request a formal explanation of what's gone on, just so that we can explain it to the people we need to report back to. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. That was a request, so there's no questions on that. Minister?
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. We are going to provide, thank you very much, Honourable Moore, that information we are going to provide, the two information on the bucket toilet project that we're supposed to have eradicated totally by now, but based on not on the new toilet project, but on what was agreed upon then. We're going to provide that report as well as the Tshwane situation. A formal submission will be done through the secretary of this committee. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honourable Ramaila.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to my colleagues, and welcome back the Minister, the DG, Deputy Minister, the DG, and officials from the department. Maybe, Chair, let me just start by raising my concerns. First is about the debtors age analysis that has moved from 120 to 210. I must say this is it's a huge concern on my part. The second concern I want to raise is about the lack of monitoring and evaluation mechanisms for CMAs. That's a serious concern, more especially that we have seen that there are those that have received a disclaimer opinion, audit opinion. It's a concern as well, and I'm sure will be told what is it that they are going to be put in place as far as monitoring and evaluation mechanism is concerned. But on top of that, what consequence management is going to be applied on those disclaimed CMAs, or whether would the SIU be involved in that regard. Now, I must also raise again the concern about the financial sustainability of these CMAs, and I therefore want to make a recommendation, Chair, that the department should submit within 14 days, Chair, the financial modeling of these CMAs. Now, when I come to my question, first I want to really appreciate the gazetting of the norms and standards in as far as operation and maintenance of the WSAs is concerned. But however, I would want to make the department to take note that the MFMA places a strong legal delegation on municipalities to ensure the effective operation and long-term maintenance of the infrastructure assets. And further through sections 3 subsection 1, it explicitly states that accounting officers have a responsibility to ensure the management of municipal assets, including their safeguarding and maintenance. And as a policy directive, Circular 71 of National Treasury again puts norms and standards in terms of 8% of the operation maintenance of the operating budget of the WSAs should be for operation and maintenance. And therefore what it means, in my view, is that obviously the FMFMA will then supersede the norms and standards as set by the department. Alternatively, I would say the norms and standards are just there to supplement the as a operational policy directive to supplement what the dictates of the FMA. Now, implementation is always difficult in terms of monitoring and evaluation. Would know for a fact, Chair, budgets are approved by the National Treasury. And they go through a process, local government, and so on. And for a budget to be funded, it means it must comply. It must have that 8% of the operating budget for operation and maintenance of the assets. But that has never happened. And in this sense, I would really want to know what mechanism is the department going to be put in place in terms of monitoring evaluation to ensure that indeed there is going to be a budget made available for operation and maintenance. That's very, very critical thing that I think we really need to look into, because this is not a new thing. The MFA has stated it very clear that municipalities have to do this, but it has not been happening. It has not been happening, Chair. Now, my first question I would want to direct it to Clean as far as finances are concerned and financial recovery plan. That what specific interim and medium-term targets have been set for that collection? As I've said, that is a concern that now the age analysis has increased from 120 to 220 day average. And what happens if those targets are missed? Because it's like we're regressing as far as this is concerned. Secondly, with the 5 billion in irregular expenditure still outstanding, what mechanism and timeline exists to recover these funds and conclude disciplinary processes and eliminate repeat of these occurrences? But I would also want to reference this to what has been said, that in terms of the trading entity that has got a positive balance. But then in terms of explanatory notes, they indicate further that it is as a result, the overdraft is linked to the historic unauthorized expenditure. Now, how do we have a positive balance, but at the same time, we still have an overdraft? Because in terms of accounting processes, until this part is clearly processed either through condonation by the National Treasury, and I want to request, Chair, that the department should be able to submit within 14 days as well the process flow in as far as condonation is concerned by National Treasury, which are the items, which are the areas, so that because we should be able to assess them again in future. But again, which of those, in terms of the analysis, are irrecoverable, so that there's a clear split in terms of, we know this can be recovered, this shows that are not irrecoverable. But at that time, we are not clear in terms of just put them into one thing. And I think they must really be able to categorize them so that as we deal them, we already know these are the possibilities that we will recover. Here we may not recover. And as we assess those based on those. And I'm sure I'll appreciate the difficulty because basically, as they say, it's linked to the unauthorized expenditure, which is a legacy problem. But in terms of accounting, I'm sure they will agree, these are accruals, and there's a way in which accruals are dealt with. So we need to be taken through that process, and I think we'll appreciate if we could get that process flow within 14 days. That would be much appreciated, Chair. Thank you very much, Sophie.
Thank you very much. Minister?
No, thank you so much, Chairperson. I'm just standing in just shortly for Minister. The DG and the team, they will speak to the issue of the issues of the CMA oversight, like it came out in the audit report, because there is a transition issue that we're dealing with, and then the issues of the norms and standard. And then when the DG and the team are done, then I will conclude their response, Chairperson. DG.
Thank you very much, DM. On the issue of the norms and standards, our norms and standards don't cover financial management, such as the 8% rule. So our norms and standards need to be seen as complementary to National Treasury's norms and standards set through the Municipal Finance Management Act. Our norms and standards focus on service delivery norms and standards, such as, for example, saying that the minimum norm and standard for water supply is to have a household connection, or to say that the minimum standard for sanitation excludes the bucket system. Those kind of issues are not covered in the MFMA. With regards to the issue of, again, monitoring whether municipalities are adhering to the 8% rule, we don't have legal authority to enforce that on municipalities. It's National Treasury who has legal authority to enforce the Treasury regulations on municipalities. And it would be, I think we would be overstepping our mark and stepping into National Treasury's territory if we were to try and monitor and enforce that requirement of the MFMA and its regulations. That's not to say, though, that in all of our engagements with the water services authorities, we don't emphasize the importance of them budgeting adequately for maintenance, which is something we continuously do. Franz?
Yeah, thank you, DG. Let me start with the one on the irregular expenditure. As requested also by Honorable Ramaila, we will definitely provide that process flow. But just to confirm that the amounts that we have listed on the slide there, as explained by Honorable Ramaila, those are part of the ongoing condonation and investigation processes. So they are not necessarily recoverable at this stage. So, for example, on all leaks, we do have the SIU that is currently busy with an investigation. So if out of the investigation by the SIU, there is confirmation that some fraud took place and they make recommendations for us to recover, we will do as we have done in the case of SEP, where we were giving a report. Others, Giyani, as you have said, they are currently at court stage. So once the court process with SIU has been concluded, we will proceed with those recoveries if there is such determination. So we have to wait for those processes. Currently, we are keeping this in our books for accounting purposes. We are not allowed, in terms of the instruction note from National Treasury, to simply remove them. So we'll process the condonation. Similarly, the one for overdraft and unauthorized expenditure. So that unauthorized expenditure, in the year in which it occurred, it means that we spend more than what Parliament appropriated. So it left a hole in our bank balance. So that hole, we cannot plug it until, as indicated by Honorable Ramaida, the process is followed. And we will, as requested, provide also further detail of that process flow. So it will remain in the books. They are linked, both overdraft on the main account as well as unauthorized expenditure. Then on the debt as well, as I've indicated earlier on when responding to Honorable Kobe, that we do have a process in place. We are currently working with our water users, specifically on municipalities, as I've indicated just yesterday, I've signed off those agreements for debt relief, close amounting to 3 billion. So it is also a process that we have to go through. Those balances, historic balances, we cannot move them out of the books. So we are putting these measures that we have shared with the portfolio committee to ensure that we fully account. There are some of the instances, for example, Mahali's Water recently, they were engaging with the former customers of Citibank Water. They've made a submission to the department where they've made specific recommendations based on the due diligence. It took time because they couldn't simply remove those balances out of their books. We are required to do a thorough investigation. So our plan in the medium term, in terms of the process, is to make sure that we sign off those debt relief incentive scheme agreements with our municipalities. We've been working with provincial and national treasuries and provincial COPTAs as well. And then we do also have a debt collection, which we have appointed through National Treasury. So for those ones that we have to refer for legal action, we pursue that. So other than that, is normal credit control measures that we are also implementing. We have also shared with the portfolio committee the impact of the SEP downtime during the presentation of the annual report, that it did somehow affect this reporting period because it happened in the 25-26 financial year. So we will, accordingly as requested, provide those written processes, process flows detailing the areas that Honorable Ramaila highlighted. DG. Thanks, Chairperson.
Just also to add, Honourable Ramaila also raised the question of the 5 billion irregular expenditure, which is outstanding. Just to mention that Honourable Ramaila is not a requirement that we recover or all expenditure which has been found to be irregular by the Auditor General. We have to recover irregular expenditure that was fraudulent, but some irregular expenditure has been deemed irregular by the Auditor General because one or other regulatory requirement was not met. So, for example, there's a large amount of regulatory requirements related to procurement, and you might not have followed a particular practice note to the letter from National Treasury with regard to procurement, and then the Auditor General deems that expenditure to be irregular. So we don't, if that was done in good faith, we don't have to recover the money from the officials who took those decisions, but we do have to go through a process of condonation of the irregular expenditure with the National Treasury. And I think, as Francis indicated, we are engaged. He is busy with all of this 5 billion of outstanding irregular expenditure, and is at various stages of all of it of engaging with National Treasury to get National Treasury's condonation of the remaining irregular expenditure. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Deputy Minister, you mentioned you would like to add?
No, thanks, Chair. I think the DG and the team have responded in terms of trying to deal with the outstanding matters, because the irregular expenditure, Chair, you'll recall, it was very, very high, and the process of condonation has taken too much long. Let's allow them just to conclude those particular issues. And then on the matter of the CMAs about their viability, we'll share their strategy, because it's a matter we've discussed before. But let's be able to do so. I thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ramaila.
Thank you, Chair. I think the explanatory notes from the CFO indeed will really assist with await them. But what I wanted to emphasize, DG, is I really understand that some of this irregular expenditure will need to be regularized, and the way to regularize them is through condonation by the National Treasury. But I want a split. We should be able to know these are the ones that actually need to be regularized. But this, we separate them, there's that split them. You know, these ones, the fraud related and all those other things, so that there must be split, there must be separation, and we begin to have an idea as to, from this 5 billion, what is it that can be scheduled for condonation, but what is it that we probably not recover, and even when we engage SIO. That kind of a split, I'm sure it will be able to help us so that we have a better handle and understanding over this matter. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. DG, would you like to respond to that?
Yes, we'll provide that information. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ditebe.
Good morning, Chair. Can you hear me?
Can hear you.
Thank you very much. Good morning to the Minister, Deputy Minister, DG, and his team, honorable members. The person, just on the issue of the water boards, I'd like to thank the DG and his team with regard to their response on the depth of the water boards. Chairperson, nonetheless would like to ask whether there is an action plan that determines, for example, that if you take KwaZulu-Natal, the Ugu district, there will be, say, 2 municipalities which are account to about 2.3 billion rand to Umgene Ituwela. While indeed the department is not driving the administrative management processes with regard to accounts receivable in that particular district vis-a-vis the water board.
Sorry, Honorable Chair, we're struggling to hear Honorable Ditebe.
Yeah, Honorable Ditebe, can you maybe speak into your mic?
Chairperson, okay. I'll try. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but it seems the Minister struggled to hear you.
Yeah, the voice is much better now.
Okay, Chairperson, thank you very much. I had to get something because I left my earbuds at home. So it's something, DM, a little cheaper now in the street here. So, but I hope it helps as this accessory. So can you hear me now? Can I continue?
Quite clearly now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Apologies to the Minister. Chair, I'm saying with regards to the water boards, while we understand that it is indeed a collaborative intergovernmental issue, etc., to the extent that the whole issue of the debt of water service authorities to the water boards involves, or let's say affects, the department, because the water boards reside within the department, account to the minister, etc. And of course, by extension, have a relationship with the water service authorities. Do we have an action plan which says certain specific water boards? Generally, I know that that is the case, to ensure that the water boards are liquid, that the water boards are solvent. But with regards to those that pose a potential risk, such as what we had with Mahalis and Val Central, and I want to go back to the KwaZulu-Natal example, where you will have, say, about 3 municipalities within the Ugu district that all collectively umgenu together 2.3 billion rand. That is quite a high amount of money. Of course, not comparable at all to one municipality, which I will come to, for example, Machabeng. So the same question applies whether it's those municipalities in the Ugu district in terms of the action plan to say we want by a certain a period of time to have significantly brought this debt down to so much so that the solvency, liquidity, even the cash flow of those particular water boards can be assured. Chairperson, you will know when we visited Rand Water, they told us, yeah, is there something now?
No, you can
Am I
continue.
audible still?
Yeah, you,
okay.
Can we just close the mic of Dudu, please?
Okay, Chairperson, thank you very much. So you will remember when we did our oversight at Segerbos, the Rand Water informed us that as part of the experimentation with the special purpose vehicle model, as and when they purchase chemicals, they also do that on behalf of Mfuleni, so to basically exploit the economies of scale, etc., and to spare them an even higher cost if they were to go out and procure those from the suppliers. So I think if we look at, for example, this question that I'm asking in relation to the water boards and the risk that continued non-payment of debts by various water service authorities, it blunts, if you like, the ability of those water boards to act in the same way as Rand Water would to assist such municipalities as Mfuleni, and I believe others would follow. And in response in particular to that question about them rolling out that to other municipalities, they said, of course, it does prove to be a very successful model. And I think it's something that I have repeatedly said, that we need to ensure that most, if not all, of the water boards are in the same position as Rand Water. They may not have the same balance sheet as Rand Water, but to a very large extent be able to do what Rand Water does to assist these water service authorities, particularly with the anticipated amendment of the Water Services Act, Chairperson. So that's the first thing. The other, Chairperson, relates to the construction program, if you like, of the department. I would like to say, yes, indeed, while there have been quite a number of very regrettable delays, whether it's force majeure or other avoidable, or in some instances avoidable delays, I think, Chairperson, that the department needs to communicate. And the reason I'm saying that is that, I pay meticulous attention to detail. And once I see something, I stay with it for the longest of time until it reaches its logical conclusion. And I'm saying this because in respect of one very small wastewater treatment plant, which the DM, Honorable Masloba, is very familiar with. He visited, I think, there in 2022 with the then Minister Kunu. I can say proudly, Chairperson, that in the area of Machabeng, Budanong, with, of course, the 3.5 billion rand, which is part of that the Minister announced during her budget speech, that particular wastewater treatment works that's now complete as far as I know. And the only thing that's left is for the outfall sewer line, so that it can transport the sewer all the way to the plant. But of course, the aftercare, as we know, the processors, etc., those we need to make sure that they are in place. Chairperson, the last one, with regards to the MIG, RV, can we say, particularly MIG and RV, in quite a number of municipalities, you will find, and we, through another portfolio committee, visited a number of districts in the Northwest, one of which is Mulema, and I think the Minister and Deputy Minister, DG and team will be familiar with that. I actually immediately sent a message to DDG Mate about Tsoaying, where there will be internal reticulation for purposes of sewer, etc. But then there will be a problem with bulk supply. And while this indeed will be a shared responsibility, say, between COCTA, to the extent that that is the jurisdiction of COCTA, that is the municipality. But I think going back to what the minister said, that there is a cumulative amount of 70 billion rand, referring now to ARBIC and I think BUSI and the MIG. I think it's important, while one is not suggesting that resources are limitless, that we try and, within the spirit of the district development model, ensure that we do not simply have reticulation network within communities, but no bulk supply, because that creates lots of frustrations for people. I know in some areas, like in the Northwest, a place called Dielpan, which was affected by the floods there is a work underway to try and use groundwater to provide the community, and there's a huge table of water there, we are told. And the department, I think, just to urge the department working with other parties to ensure that that is done, because those people, the community there, uses the VIP toilets. Now, the longer they use those, the bigger the risk of contamination of the water that's available underground, that is. So those would be my points. Otherwise, the rest of the other very critical points, issues have been covered by my colleagues. But I think it's important, Chairperson, in particular, to communicate, because in some instances, and the Minister, of course, has said, we do not do this, and we do understand that when our people look at government, and I like this phrase, the whole of government. So that must be the approach. Although I do feel sometimes that DWS is being unfairly criticized for things that should otherwise be done elsewhere. But we are talking here of a collaborative approach of synergies. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. We have now asked 750 questions to the department. The last question of Honourable Ditebe was the 750th question that has been answered. So I think it is some kind of a milestone for the committee going forward. Over to you, Minister.
No, thank you so much, Chairperson. The other issues will be responded by the DG and Honourable Ditebe. We take your counsel around these matters of the water boards. Like Minister said in her introduction, including the work that you have done yourselves as a portfolio committee, with respect to support us around the escalating debts to the water boards. And a number of initiatives have happened. You will recall that Minister has led a program of engagement with the Premier MECs responsible for local government and affected municipalities, and equally engagement with National Treasury. And a number of these initiatives where payment plans are in place, there is a defaulting, in certain areas by other municipalities. But in certain interventions, there was a last resort around the question of withholding certain component of the equitable share for a particular period to do this. But these debts, a number of these interventions have worked, but the debts are escalating on the basis that these municipalities, some of them, they are not viable, they are not in good shape, and we need to look at the entire value chain around the issues of provision of service, quality service, revenue enhancement, including issues of cost recovery. And our ministry has been in a position to categorize the water boards when we came to you for support, including when you track National Treasury and SALCA, that they are high-risk water boards because they are not getting any support and funding from the state. Absolutely correct, Mahalis said being for historical reasons, but also continued performance by certain municipalities. As part of an ongoing support, we introduced this idea to support municipalities with reforms in forms of SPV, that rainwater. Now National Treasury has supported us. The processes of the launch and the rollout is happening, and other ideas, including the trading services, reforms, and the metro support. Those are some of the things. But when we do this thing, Honorable Dithebe, there is a lot of an appetite by municipalities that they wanted to get in a similar arrangement with rainwater. I must be able to indicate that we will fully explore these opportunities, but they are risk, Chairperson. Those risks, they require that a due diligence must be done. In certain areas, even if water boards can come in a structured arrangement like an SPV, the risk of economic viability of those municipalities, the issues of people that are unable to pay, in certain instances, some of these mechanisms, they will not work. That's why a holistic approach around ensuring that our economies work, there's investment, infrastructure is there, and others, is a bigger issue that needs to happen. But there has to be that particular aspect, Honorable Dithebe. Then there are issues around leadership. Some of the leadership of these institutions, they are actually not living up to their responsibilities. A number of these entities, they decided to default and then put more burden on us as a department with our entities. For an example, we say they must engage in reforms, ring-fence their trading services, ring-fence budget, invest back. They simply don't do it, and then be continuously demanding that we need to do that. That's why some of the reforms of Water Services Act, National Water Act, to hold them accountable, will be an important aspect that we need to look at. But let's be able to look at a case by case. And remember, there is also even this dispensation where we are looking at a debt relief for some of the water services authorities, like it was done in ESCOM, but with certain condition. With yourselves, and the DG has been on record to say under what condition we can look at those matters, including in certain instances where we do the waiver of the interest, but over a period of time. These are some of the matters that, Chairperson, we do take the point, and as a department, we are very open to other suggestions, what can we try, but it will need the whole of a government approach, SALCA in the main, and then including municipalities. National Treasury are very, very supportive, and then including COPTA. I know that some of you, some of our measures, we are very, very concerned about them. One of the major, Chair, that we normally deploy is the issue of water restrictions. and water restriction as a mechanism and a tool available to the water boards without a total shutdown. There's been a strong view to say, but how do we actually implement this in such a way that the paying customers are not negatively affected? Those are some of the things we are still exploring. I'll allow the DG to deal with the other matters with his team, especially Mapuda, around the issues of construction. And thank you so much, Honorable Detail, about the work we did in Kutlanong. You know, one of the biggest things that the ministry is considering, we do too many projects supporting municipalities. This year alone, in the budget, we have more than 500 projects. But one of the biggest problems, Chairperson, is when we hand over this project to the ownership of municipalities. Within few months, these municipalities have no capacity to manage them, including the investment, just to ensure that O&M issues are happening. Very, very good quality of these assets, they get to deteriorate. We have to look at a mechanism of transition between municipalities, but also looking at the value of an asset. Because if we actually don't manage these things, we'll be working backwards. We actually move 2 steps into the front, take 4 steps to the back, and then every time we need to be able to come back and fix this thing. That is not a sustainable way of doing things. Thank you. DG?
Thank you, Deputy Minister. On the issue of our action plan for municipal debt, we have prioritized those municipalities which owe the water boards the most and which put the vulnerable water boards at the most risk, both in terms of the ministers' meetings with the premiers and the MECs for COGTAs and the mayor, and also in terms of our applications to National Treasury for withholding of equitable share. And so that's basically our action plan, and that we deliberately prioritize those that have put the vulnerable water boards most at risk, and so far that appears to have had impact. With regard to the rolling out of the models such as the special purpose vehicle to other municipalities, just to add to what the Deputy Minister said, we are developing the capacity internally to support municipalities. In terms of the Municipal Systems Act, it's a decision that must be made by the Water Services Authority, and the Water Services Authority has to go through a community consultation process before changing its service delivery mechanism, called the Section 78 process. We are working with SALGA and COGTA to be in a position to provide support to any Water Services Authority which wants to engage in a Section 78 process. We're also collecting as much information we can on all the different options, including options such as the concession option, which has been implemented successfully in Mbombela and Ilembe municipalities, so that we can, when we support water services authorities to go through these Section 78 processes, we can provide them with all the information they would need to consider the different options. The special purpose vehicle is just one amongst a range of different options that can be put in place by municipalities for alternative water service providers, including the concessions that I just mentioned. We take note of the suggestion by Honourable Ditebi of the need to improve our communications regarding projects that have been delayed, and we will endeavour to do that. Finally, with regard to the relationship between ourselves with our grants and the MIG, the Provincial Cooperative Governance Department in all the provinces has a standing meeting with us to coordinate between the MIG, the RBIG and the WISIG, all the different supports to municipalities. And I think those coordination mechanisms are working well. We've strongly encouraged our provincial officers to prioritize those engagements, regular engagements with COGTA at provincial level, and the coordination. It's quite a strong, well-functioning coordination mechanism. So generally speaking, the different investments between COGTA through MIG and ourselves are well coordinated with regard to water and sanitation. Occasionally something might fall through the gap, I think it's improved in recent years, and we may still be living with some legacy issues where there was a lack of coordination, but we will continue to ensure that our provincial officers participate fully and prioritize that coordination with provincial COPTA. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Ditebe.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, to the DM and the DG for that response. Just lastly to say, the last part of his response with regards to the coordination, in particular, in reference to some metros, remember your Mangaung is just nascent, so it's not as old as your city of Johannesburg and others. Now, it may not, as far as I know, qualify in terms of WISIC, etc., because of it being a metro, but just with regards to BFI processes, some of these metros like Mangaung would be under 139, say 7, and there may be an issue here or there technically, which then doesn't quite allow them to be compliant in terms of all the requisite processes to ensure that they eradicate, for example, a backlog of 79,000 units that is of sanitation, both in the formal and informal sector. So I'm saying the same must be done to ensure that they are supported, because much as it's a metro, you do have some peri-urban, semi-rural areas and so forth, and even rural. So that's what one would like to see. Lastly, Chair, with regards to the water boards, I hope this time around, it's not going to be a matter of whether, but when December comes, indeed, a portion of the equitable share that is due to the affected water boards is indeed paid over, because we cannot afford all of what is happening. And I didn't mention it in the beginning, I'm mentioning it now. The highest debt in the country, Machabeng, I think it's at 9 billion rand now. And last time in December, when we supported the minister and the department in ensuring that National Treasury withholds a portion of the equitable share, as far as we know, it did not happen in respect of Machabeng, and they just are going on and on with this frivolous and vexatious litigation against the water board, let alone, the very acerbic rhetoric against the water board by the municipality. And these poor citizens do not know, because they want to attribute the restrictions and all other issues to the water board as if the water board's fault. As far as we understand, Chair, in that municipality, reliability of water, DM spoke about residents that pay, and they are affected alike, like those that pay and those that do not, like those that do not pay. And it's unfair, because it's not a matter of a technical incapacity on the part of the water board to supply water, but the water board is left with no choice but to restrict supply of water because of this mounting debt. And I think this must be taken very seriously. This time around, Chairperson, when December comes, a portion of that must be withheld, because even with the attempt to limit this to 12 million rand, that arbitration process said, no, not 12 million, 62 million. But when you look at what the municipality does, it's got a so-called revenue enhancement thing. They've got a company there. They've given them free lodging, everything. All they do is send SMSs out to people, and they are said to be enhancing revenue. But there's hardly anything to show that that revenue is being enhanced. So let alone this one of electricity, where there's another company. So I think, there's got to be that coordination between us and COCTA to ensure that these municipalities, all in the name of, autonomy, being distinct, etc., are not allowed to harm the quality of life and well-being of citizens. Thanks.
Minister, would you like to respond to that?
No, thanks, Chair. We do take the point.
Yeah.
Yes, leadership.
Yes, allow me to just come in quickly. No, thank you very much, Chair, for that concern, especially on water boards. Chair,
Minister, your signal is very bad. We can't hear you.
Can I switch off the video?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Chair, as we once reported to the portfolio committee, that after we hosted the water and sanitation in Daba, we had a minimum plan of action on the non-negotiables, and we agreed in that conference that within 6 months there must be a progress report that on the basic things that we said must happen. That of some of them are just been mentioned here by Honorable Editebe, that of ensuring that there's debt collection, there's ring fencing of, there's disconnection of illegal connections, there's all those, there's a list of those. And we wrote all premiers, to all MEC Cocta, to all mayors, to say, give us a progress report. How far are you? Some municipalities are doing very well in terms of attending to that. But this municipality, in particular, Machabeng is just untouchable. Instead of paying the water board, they run to court. They spend a lot of money in court. Be that as may, we are unable as a DWS really to hold them accountable on everything. But what we have done, we have compiled the report and tabled the report to the cabinet. And the president also took an interest in to know which municipalities are really not responding. And we were mandated once more to write to those municipalities and inform them that the cabinet is not happy about what the steps that they are not taking in terms of water reticulation and water provision. Because as Honorable Ditebe is saying, that takes toll on ordinary citizens. So we are working with Cocta, but at some point, Cocta is supposed to take the lead because municipalities, they are part of Cocta. We come on services, but not on the entire administration and governance of municipalities. So we take note of what has been said here by Honorable Ditebe. You can finish off, DM Matlo.
No, thank you so much. Honorable Chairperson Ditebe, please just note that there is a special support intervention for metros because metros must not fail. The presidency, national treasurer, and relevant department, especially our ministry, the DG, and the Minister of Energy and Electricity, they are moving ahead with metro trading services. The other day, I represented the minister and joined the Minister of Finance, and all these metros are there, including Buffalo City, Mangaung, and others. Now they are all putting an institutional mechanism just to ensure that there is a proper ring fencing of trading services for water and electricity. And they've all gone to councils, decisions have been made. Now they are producing their performance plans. And the National Treasury has set aside, on the basis of these plans, a support mechanism of more than 150 billion rands. And I hope that your lovely home of Mangaung, they too will not be lagging behind, including the technical support that the teams are working hard. And I know that the DG, Dr. Ndili, and Rismate, they're all working that side to support them, including the Premier of the province. But premiers are saying, but you can't only do for metros. There is a discussion now, and the minister and the leadership of the country will have to look at strategic towns, especially in provinces where the capitals are not metros. but there's a lot of support, including the issues of the reforms for local government, and part we do as a reform. But it's going to be a long overhaul in terms of turning around certain of the situation. In areas where interventions are being made, you can start to see some kind of stabilization. You can see very, very good work in eThekwini. They are not at the stage where we want them to be, but the whole government approach, working with the private sector, experts and community-based organization. Johannesburg too, it took a little bit longer, but some work is starting to actually happen in Johannesburg. Fortunately, a minister, she's a DDM champion there, and then DM Sarupeng and DM Hendricks, they're trying to help the leadership of Joburg to work with everybody. And I think Mangaung should also be prioritized too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kehakilwe.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good afternoon and welcome, Minister. And let us thank God for your health. Afternoon, DM, DG, and the team, and then honorable members, good afternoon. Chairperson, I'm just going to be very short. And firstly, let me appreciate the report and to applaud the department for their improvement in the administration program. They moved from 58% to 70%. And also their achievement in the procuring from the SMMEs, they are currently at 60%. Keep it up. And then, Chairperson, the department is not really doing well when it comes to water services management. The performance in this area dropped from 48% to 41%. So I only have a concern, what is the cause for this regression, and is there any turnaround strategy to keep the situation? And then if we can note, Chairperson, most of the areas of non-performance, they are the same for both quarters, even some for the previous financial year. I will appeal that at least the department should put more effort to reduce the number of those recurring non-performance areas. And then on the issue of the non-compliance with the audit plan, it's a concern for me, Chairperson, because the audit plan is what the department developed following the Auditor General's audits. So if the department is now unable to comply, and the department now resort to outsource the technical audit part, but I will then recommend that instead of outsourcing, because the department, they've indicated that they've appointed about 468 technicians and scientists. How about the department utilizing those people or those appointees to assist with the technical part of the audit? And then the other question, Chair, is with regard to Umgeni Water Board. The Umgeni Water Board, based on the presentation, I'm not sure if this is the annual budget or whatever, but they've exhausted everything. I just want to know, is there any plan from the department now to ensure that the board will continue functioning despite exhausting all of their budget? I'll come for other questions, Chair. Thank you.
Minister?
Thank you very much, Chair. Let the DG come, then DM Mahlobo will conclude.
Thank you, Chair. Babawa.
Thank you, DG. The regression in the water services management performance is based on the revised reporting framework that I had actually introduced before. Previously, we would include all projects, all that are under construction, all those that are completed, whether they are listed or not listed in the annual performance plan. After the 2024-25 financial year, where the Auditor General indicated that we should only report on those that have been listed in the annual performance plan, we have had to revise that reporting framework that we used to do, and only report on only those projects that are listed in the annual performance plan. So that actually has reduced the water services management, particularly the grant performance, significantly by at least on average 20%. What we are doing going forward to ensure that that is improved, we are revising our technical indicator descriptions to ensure that all these projects that we cannot include in the annual performance plan are actually included. We have also, we're actually currently engaging with the DPME and the National Treasurer as well as the Auditor General to ensure that this is now within the revised scope, because we are only implementing this one for this 25-26 financial year, but in the 26-27 financial year, we are updating all these issues to ensure there's no regression going forward. Thank you, DG.
Thank you. And then our Head of Internal Audit, Michael.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Member, for the question. The issue of compliance with the approved internal audit plan, where we were under by 5%, is mainly due to capacity constraints, as we had lost some resources in the previous financial year. But we have started processes to recruit those professionals, and you should see a steady increase in the coming quarters. I don't think this is a long-term program, and we've always been able to recover. Thank you.
Thank you. And just also to mention that these audits have to be done by trained auditors. When it talks about technical audits, it doesn't mean audits that can be done by engineering or science technical people. It's audits that must be done by auditors. Michael, is that correct?
That's correct.
Frans?
Yes, no, I agree with internal audit, and as we have indicated with the compensation of employees as well. So we have allocated funding for those costs, so they are being appointed, but there isn't non-compliance necessarily with the audit action plan for the AG. This was specifically the internal audit, as explained by our head of internal audit. On the AGSA plan, as we have responded to the earlier questions, we are implementing that plan. DG, thanks.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kegakilwe, that was the responses.
Thank you, Chair. I'm covered with the responses, but I still have another question.
Can you ask it now? Can you quickly ask it?
Number of bulk sewer projects under construction for Arlington, Petrostain, and Fixbeck. Under the comments there, the presenter indicated that the contractors are having a challenge with cash flow. So I just want to find out, are they still on site? And then what was the cause of that cash flow? Is it due to non-payment of the department or misuse of money by the contractors? Thank you, Chair. That was my last question.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Chair. DDG Rismati.
Thank you, Minister. I think the last part that the honorable member has mentioned is exactly the issue. The issue of cash flows is what causes these service providers to delay. I've elaborated earlier on that when a project is underway, some of these service providers, they don't plan ahead. Sometimes they delay the payment of staff, procuring of materials. But when it comes to the department, we always pay them on time. Yes, there could be technical issues where we have to correct invoices as and when, but we always pay the service providers on time. So much of the challenge on the cash flow is on their side, that they don't seem to manage their finances quite well. On the issue of them being on site, yes, honorable member, these contractors, the projects are currently underway. although there are some of those challenges that we have indicated. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honourable Member, are you satisfied?
Very satisfied, and thanks for the responses, Chair.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, any other member that would like to have a question? Or is this an early day for us to conclude this meeting? Honourable Ramaila.
Thank you, Chair. Once more, I want again to, I think there's a question I forgot in terms of financial recovery, which relates to, in terms of the overview of financial recovery, there's an item on regular expenditure which indicates that it was incurred on a running contract which was declared as irregular in the previous financial year. The contract terminations are being implemented. The outstanding amounts are pending court cases. And I may be wrong. I'm subject to be rectified here. This is not part of the legacy irregular expenditure. And if it's not part of the legacy irregular expenditure, and it says that disciplinary processes are unfolding and so on, I would want to know who is the service provider in this instance, what is the value of the contract that has been in the process of being cancelled, and who are the officials involved in this case. Indeed, if it's not a legacy irregular expenditure. But also what I want to understand, that in terms of the PFMA, there's clear regularity framework through the supply chain management, which provides the statutory and regulatory framework for contract management. And in that regard, National Treasury issues guidelines such as the contract management framework, as well as the contract management guide, which must be followed through. And in this process, the internal audit has to ensure that we don't experience such things where contracts are regarded as being irregular. Do we have an effective and efficient internal control systems as far as internal audit control is concerned? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Minister.
DG and CFO.
Thank you. Yes, that is correct, Honorable Ramaila. This is the recent contract. We do have internal controls in place. This relates to an evaluation process, as DG indicated, that you have certain steps that you need to follow. So there was one of the steps that the evaluation missed there, and that relates to a project, the Ten William project. The award was confirmed for Stefanati stocks. We have received, I think this yesterday now, I have the correspondence. It was for supply and delivery. So the process is now underway that we need to proceed with the mutual termination and agree on the settlement with the client. This is the correspondence from the lawyers. So we will have all those details, I'm sure, as we conclude now. Is it Q3? Because now I have to forward this to the legal services and conclude on this matter. But I agree with Honorable Ramaila. Then it will follow the process that Honorable Ramaila requested earlier on, where we'll have to do a coordination to National Treasury, do a value assessment, loss assessment, as DG indicated that not all of these cases would require a recovery. So I'm reading now from the correspondence of yesterday, but we will have this as part of the detailed report that Honorable Ramaila requested that we must submit within 14 days with the other portfolio of cases.
Thank you very much. Just to add, Chair, so from what Francis said, the irregularity occurred in the procurement process during the bid evaluation. It's not a contract management issue. It's a procurement irregularity. As I indicated previously, the regulatory frameworks for procurement, particularly of infrastructure, are extremely complex. There are dozens of different National Treasury practice notes and circulars and instructions related to it. And then there's a whole suite of documents from the Construction Industry Development Board as well. And if you don't follow all of those regulatory requirements to the letter, there's a chance that the Auditor General might find that your whole procurement was irregular. We have been working on building the capacity of our department to comply with this whole suite of regulations related to how you do infrastructure procurement. We have been sending officials on training. We've also been training our bid committee members. So that's been part of the process of our financial recovery plan, and is part of the reason why our irregular expenditure has improved. But however, as you can see, occasionally things do still fall between the cracks, either our evaluation committees or the line function or the bid committees or our supply chain units do still make errors now and again in terms of non-compliance with this, with these dozens of different regulatory frameworks that have to be followed. We also, in order to improve our compliance, we included our risk management unit in the process, and our risk management unit watches these procurements as they happen, and they try and also make sure that they're fully compliant and pick up and alert us to any risks that something might be happening which might not comply in some way or another with these detailed regulatory frameworks. Michael, do you want to also come in from an internal audit point of view?
Yes, from the internal point of view, we are able to also select these contracts and basically audit the full process from demand management up to contracting and also contract performance. And it does happen in certain instances that we pick up areas of non-compliance, and those would then be declared to be irregular if it does amount to irregular expenditure. We do also have the forensic investigation unit, which is able to then investigate those instances of irregular expenditure. And we are then able to make recommendations on the possible course of action, which may include disciplinary action, civil recovery processes, reporting to the police, and so forth. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Ramaila, are you satisfied with the response?
No, I'm happy, Chair, but this indicates to some sort of a leaky internal control system that the DG really needs to ensure that they plug on it. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Honorable Kobe.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, with regards to water boards, I just wanted to ask the department, this is outside of the report, but it's with recent reports that have surfaced that a contract of 300 million was awarded for an 80-kilometer pipeline, which is supposed to be 90 million. What I'd just like to know from the department is that are there veracity to these allegations, and if the department maybe has started to look into it? I think it would be a shame for us as a portfolio committee to not be appraised with such things, and we wouldn't want to go ahead in terms of our political parties to make statements that don't have any truth in them. Thank you, Chair.
Minister?
I did not get this point about truth. I'm sorry, Chair.
You can continue.
Yes, Chair, I'm saying I did not capture well the element that is raised by Honorable Kobe about the truth that we have to brief them. What is the matter? I did not hear that.
Honorable Kobe, can you
Mr. Chair, I'm happy to repeat it. The Umgeni Tugela Water, there's a recent reports that are surfacing in the media that they've awarded a 380 million tender for an 80-kilometer pipeline to a family member of the board, which was supposed to be only 90 million rand. I'd like to know from the department if there is any veracity to these allegations, if the department has started investigating, and if Umgeni, the department would get a report for us from Umgeni with regards to these matters. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
okay.
Minister.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Chair, that is not the only issue that has been raised about Umgeni. There are a lot of allegations. Already we have put up a team that is investigating all these matters. This recent one about allegation on a board member, it happened whilst I was just out of the hospital. So we got that. We were putting together a team, but already the board through the CE is compiling a report because there is information on that. But once all is done, we are going to brief you blow by blow on all those allegations that have been doing rounds on the media about Umgeni, from allegation 1 to the very last allegation. We are quite aware of those, and we are working on them at the right time when we have concluded all our investigation and the actions that we're going to take. We will certainly brief the portfolio committee. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Kobe.
Happiness, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Ditebe.
Chairperson, thank you very much. Chair, Section 21
Sorry, Chairperson.
You will come after him, Honorable Reddy.
No, it's not a new point. It's just following the discussion around Guinea Utkela. I did request that we have a separate...
We will still discuss it, Honorable Reddy. We will
okay. Thank you.
We will still discuss it. Thank you. Continue, Honorable Ditebe.
Can you hear me, Chair?
I can hear you. You continue.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Section 21 of the National Water Act lists 11 areas, and just for purposes of my question, B is water storage and K, 21K. 21B is water storage and 21K is use of water for recreational purposes. Now, Chairperson, we have had very recently issues about drownings, and SAPS has listed quite a number of those in response to the portfolio committee affected. This now relates to minerals and petroleum resources because at one point a quarry pit in Mangaung, in Heidedal to be specific, which is said to be 50 meters deep, has a body of water, and Chairperson, the department in terms of the Water Act is obliged to compel the owner to say whether they will be using that water, which is ingress groundwater, for storage and for extended use, or for other purposes, or for recreational purposes. Initially, when the owner, I think it's in Basel Trading, bought that piece of land, it had that water. It was a brick making plant at some point, having started back in the 1970s, 80s, thereabout, and there have been more than 45 deaths there. So yesterday I was there engaging with the community. I understand that the department is in the process of compelling the owner to, or directing the owner to either indicate whether they will be using that water for purposes of 21B of the National Water Act or 21K. Now, how far is the department in terms of that? Because there is quite an outcry in the community. That area, at one point, I'm told that the owner had fenced it off, but it's no longer fenced off, and it poses such a big risk. In fact, as you go down you struggle, even as you may be very young, you struggle to come out of there because of the depth there before you actually reach the water. So just correct, lastly, I know when in communities people see a body of water, they call it a dam, letamo, but strictly speaking, it's got to be, there's got to be a wall around it, etc. And in this case, as I said, it's over a period of time, ingress groundwater that's accumulated there. Of course, occasionally there will be surface water precipitation. So how far is the department in ensuring that that happens? Because yesterday when I engaged with the community, I undertook to come back to them because I'm aware of intent on the part of the department to invoke 21B or 21K of the National Water Act. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. DDG Rusimati and PH and Dilly, can you please respond to this?
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Minister. Honourable Ditebi is correct. When this mine was closed down in 2006, DWS was asked to comment on the mine closure by the then Department of Mineral Resources. The applicant for the mine closure indicated that the quarry with the water in it would be used for recreational purposes. And as Honourable Ditebi indicated, the National Water Act does talk about water bodies which are used for recreational purposes, and it indicates that a water use license is not required when it's going to be used for recreational purposes. So at the time in 2006, we did not say when we gave comments on the mine closure that the owner should apply for a water use license. However, what has become recently is apparent to us recently is that they haven't used that quarry which has got water in it for recreational purposes, and we're therefore, as indicated by Honourable Ditebi, in the process of drawing up a directive to the owners that they must either confirm that they're using it for recreational purposes, or if not, it is effectively a form of water storage, and they must therefore apply to us for a water use license for the water storage. And in short, Honourable Ditebi, we will issue that directive to the owners before the end of this week. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Honourable Ditebi.
Very happy, Chairperson. Thank you to
Thank you, DG. Honourable Kegakilwe says she didn't get a clear answer on the Umgeni Water Board budget. But what I want to do is, there was a request that the Minister speak to us on Umgeni. So can I ask the Minister maybe to enlighten us as of the request of Honourable Reddy, and maybe just include that as well? Minister?
Thank you, Chair. What is that I must enlighten with? Because after the question from Honourable Kobe, as said, we are aware of all the allegations labelled against certain members of the board. There were first allegations that are before I went on sick leave, and already on those allegations, we are processing all the necessary hearings. That is part one. There's part two of the recent allegations that we are also, that was circulated, I think, from last week. As I started work yesterday, I'm putting that into a process. And I said, we don't want to tamsak We have to allow the processes of the department to unfold. And once we are done with all investigations, we'll come to the portfolio committee and say, this is how we've conducted this matter. These are the findings. These are the actions that we've taken. So I'm trying to avoid, Chair, to start discussing and debating matters that are under investigation. We might not do fairness to those who are implicated. So we want to do a holistic investigation and get a report already. As I said, on the first set, before you went there as a portfolio committee, already that is in motion. I'm not sure what else, Chair, is the portfolio committee expecting right now. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable Reddy, the Minister has indicated and we will receive a report. Are you satisfied with that?
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, Honourable Minister. I think what is required, and this is what Minister is asking, is a clear indication that there is some team put together through the national office, either through the DG's office or somewhere, that is investigating these allegations. Obviously, the Minister is correct. We cannot go into detail because it will jeopardize the investigations. But I think it would be good enough that if we get calls from the media or anybody else, we can safely say the matter is currently being investigated by a forensic team or whatever. But to say that we're awaiting a report from the committee secretary of Umgeni Water Board, I don't think that is going to be sufficient. This has to be an independent intervention by the department, and if Minister can assure us that in fact this is what is happening, then I think it's good enough. We'll await the outcome of that, and of course there must be specific timelines. The allegations are quite damning. It actually affects the image of not only Umgeni Utukela, but of this department as well. Thank you, Chairperson.
Yeah, I think that is how I understood the Minister. Minister,
let me clarify. I think what I said.
Thank you, Minister.
Yes, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Honourable Reid. What I said about the CE is that when there is an article, you don't start by investigating the article. You start by asking for a report from CE. CE, there's this article. What is the understanding of this article? We have an independent investigating team that is in the department nationally, in the DWS, which also include our audit team that is had to look at all those things. So we are not going to get a report and sit down. That report will also work as a reference, but also everyone that is implicated will be taken through the hearing. So we are not making CE to investigate. No, we are going to investigate each and every. I think I see the terms going up here from Honourable Reddy. No, we are handling the matter. Your response to the community is that the National Department of Water and Sanitation, through the Office of the Minister, has appointed an independent, because when this thing started, we said the board cannot investigate itself because some members of the board are implicated. Hence, I took it to my national office. Thank you very much.
Minister, you not only got hands, you also get red hearts from Honourable Reddy. So we take note of that, Minister. Honourable Kegakilwe, your hand is still up. Do you want something to be clarified, please?
Yes, Chair, and thank you very much. My question with regard to the budget allocated to Umgeni Board, I'm not sure if it was only for the past 2 quarters or it was an annual budget. but based on the report, they've exhausted everything. So my question was, how is the department going to make sure that the board continues functioning, let alone their zero budget? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Minister.
CFO, what is this thing about the budget? Because we don't usually allocate for boards. What is this allocation? CFO?
Yeah, thanks. Thanks you, Minister. This is for a specific project. Minister is correct that the water boards are self-financing funding, so it doesn't have any impact on the water board. So this is our contribution for a specific RBIC project. So it's not necessarily the funding of the operations of Umgeni Water Board. So there is no impact on their operations. They do generate their own finances through the tariff.
Okay, I see Honorable Kegakilwe is satisfied. Honorable Ditebe, is that still an old hand or a new question? Honorable Ditebe?
Apologies, Chair. I must lower my hand. It's a legacy.
Thank you. Honorable Moore.
Thank you, Chairperson. And thank you very much for everything the Minister said, as well as the letter I've received regarding the Umgeni issue. Minister, just because it has come up in conversation in the committee, I just want to emphasize that obviously the damage being done by the governance concerns with regards to Umgeni Utukela, it damages the concerns across all of our water boards. It raises concerns at a time where people are very concerned around boards because of issues that have happened in other departments. And I think urgency, a level of urgency is needed on this topic. And I understand the need for independent boards, and I'm very grateful for the actions that you're taking. I just hope that we can move swiftly, because it seems that week to week to week, there are more and more allegations of challenges. And this is not the type of news that the department is looking for when we have so many positive projects on the go. So with that said, Chair, it's not needing critical response, although obviously the Minister can say, but just to say I'm grateful that the investigation is happening, but obviously there's an urgency to this matter with ongoing and continuous challenges. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. I see the Minister's got thumbs up. Colleagues, I think that brings us to closure of this meeting. Thank you very much to the Minister, and good luck also with your health. And thank you to the department for a swift presentation that they gave us, and to our colleagues, thank you very much for asking pertinent questions and urgent questions, and we see each other later today. I now adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Chairperson, and to the Minister.
Thank you, Chair.
Very much.
Thanks, Chair. Bye.
Thank you.